Hey, gorgeous! Welcome to the Business Mindset Podcast with Holly Wharton, which combines powerful strategies on how to upgrade your business mindset, along with practical business tips to grow your business. This podcast features solo shows with Holly and also interviews with inspiring women entrepreneurs from around the world. Thank you so much for joining us today. And now, here's your host, Holly Wharton.
Hello and welcome to the Business Mindset Podcast, episode 194. This is your host, Holly Wharton, and I'm back with another co-hosted episode with the fabulous Joe Casey. Today we're going to talk about a tale of two websites, or a tale of two uplevels. So basically, Joe and I, for the last, I would say 5 or 6 months, have been going through separately kind of our own up-leveling processes where we've been kind of stepping up in a new and a bigger way with our businesses. And we both recently launched new websites to express these changes in who we are and how we're stepping up with our businesses and our business message. So we wanted to share our respective stories with you so you can understand kind of the stuff that goes on behind a business pivot, so you can know when it's time to do this in your business, how to do it, and what it's like from the back end. Because from the front end, it can look super shiny and exciting and brilliant and just fabulous, and it is. But there's a whole murky middle that you have to go through. Well, you may probably, that's a belief. There's a whole murky middle that we both went through to get there. And often you don't see that because people don't talk about that so much. So, in this episode, Joe and I kind of interview each other about our respective processes and how we went through this messy middle and stepped out on the other side with new websites, new message, slightly new business. So it's kind of an evolution in both of our businesses. So, hope you find this useful. As always, we will have the show notes at the end with all the links that we talked about. And hope you find this useful.
Hello, everybody. This is Joe Casey, and I'm here with Holly Wharton. Welcome to our monthly joint podcast episode. And we're going to do something a tiny bit different this week. We're going to talk about up-leveling and rebranding and pivots and how to know when to change direction and how to do that. And the way that we're going to do this is effectively Holly and I are going to interview each other and describe our own experiences because we have both recently gone through this process ourselves. And we thought it might be interesting to share our experiences of it, see if you can relate and whether there are some lessons that we can share with you from that. So hi Holly, it is lovely to talk to you again. It feels like it's been weeks and weeks and weeks.
I know, it's great to be back. I've missed our episodes.
I know, me too. So you have been through a rebrand recently. You have a shiny, beautiful new website and slightly different message. It's an evolution of your messaging. So talk me through a little bit about how that came about and when you knew that you wanted to change what you were doing originally.
Well, I've been going through kind of a transition since late last year. So I would say for about the last maybe 5 or 6 months. So I recently developed a new technique for how I work with clients, and I'd been testing it out on myself. I started testing it out on other people, and I only just recently started paying clients in this technique, but it's a completely different way of working with people, and it has a very different feel. So I could sense that I was changing, not only as the result of the work that I was doing with myself, but also as the result of using this technique with myself and with other people. And so I was just feeling differently. I felt like I was starting to kind of up-level in a way, releasing lots of my own mind crap as I was stepping up. And it got to the point where every time I looked at my website, I just felt really uncomfortable. Like it was like, you know, a dress that you've grown out of or something, and the sleeves are too short, and it's like weirdly short on the bottom, and it just looks awkward, and it doesn't feel right, and it's not comfortable. It was like that kind of thing. It's just every time I looked at it, I was just like, ugh. So that was kind of the sign that I knew I really needed to do something about it. And I planned to update my website when I was ready to launch my new technique, but it actually kind of happened a little bit earlier.
Oh, okay. So the technique happened earlier, or the website happened?
The website happened earlier because I got to the point where I just couldn't handle it anymore. So I did one of my workcation weekends and just did the whole website. I kind of kept it live the whole time. I didn't even do like the sandbox thing. I just, page by page, I just rewrote stuff, changed the graphics, and just did the whole thing new with a fresh new look.
And how long did that take you?
Just 2 days. So the first day I did all the graphics. So I completely updated the colors, the look and feel, all the visual elements. And then the next day I just updated all the copy on every page.
Oh my God, I am so jealous. So did you plan all of that out beforehand, or did it just come out? Just that sounds ridiculously easy.
Well, that's the power of the workation weekend.
In mine, but
that's the power of the workation weekend. Yeah, it was just really easy, and I think it's because I didn't plan anything out. Like, I had an idea of what colors I wanted to use, and I'd played around with different color palettes, but I wasn't 100% sure until I sat down that weekend and did it. And all of a sudden, it all flowed really beautifully, and it was just like this vomiting of visual and writing and just information, and it flowed so beautifully. And by it wasn't even stressful. Like, by Sunday afternoon, not even evening, I was done and ready to kind of move on to other things.
That stunned silence is me just going, I love you, Holly, but I kind of hate you a little bit right now when you tell me that.
I was so ready for it, though. It was like, it got to the point where I just couldn't handle the old website any longer. And so I think just the fact that I was like and it's so ridiculous that I say it like this because it's a website, but it was like I couldn't handle it anymore. Yeah. So I was just so ready to make it happen. And somehow it just flowed beautifully.
Wow. That is the way that I want mine to happen next time for sure. So I mean, how different is the message? Would you say, and the visuals? I mean, does it feel like it's a radical departure, or does it feel more like it's an incremental evolution?
Yes, it's definitely an evolution. So I feel like it's a clearer version of my message. And actually, since I went to this event, the No Limits event in Brussels last weekend, I've updated my website a little bit more, just because I've got even more clarity. So I just feel like I've little by little been getting even more clarity on who my ideal client is, how I can help them, what I want to help them with, and kind of finding the right words to express who I work with and how I help them. So it was just kind of a natural evolution as I worked with more people and got clear on what I wanted to do.
So could you describe so in your words, where have you moved from and where are you now in terms of who were you working with? What was your message? What were your services compared to where you are now?
Yeah. So who I was working with was women entrepreneurs who were feeling stuck in their business. Maybe their prices were too low or not feeling right. They had fears of visibility, the mindset crap that keeps us stuck in business. Still working with those same women, but the way I've really honed it down is that I want to work with women, and I do work with women who are here to change the world. They recognize the fact that they're a part of this change in consciousness that the world is going through, and they're here to do really big things. They have really big visions, but they feel so disconnected from that vision because it's so big and scary, and they just feel like, who the hell am I to do this thing? But yet they have these dreams, but yet it's not happening. So the work that I do in terms of upgrading mindset and releasing fears and blocks and stuff is all about helping them step up into this bigger vision, this really massive vision that they have, release all the crap that's going to get in the way, and help them to more easily take the action they need to take to make that dream happen.
So that whole kind of concept of up-leveling.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it has a number of meanings, but it really feels like you have up-leveled your kind of vision for your business as well, because you're not just helping people. I mean, not that there's anything wrong with just helping people kind of, build really great businesses and kind of do all of that stuff. But, we're now talking kind of global consciousness raising.
Yeah.
That's like big stuff.
It is big stuff and it's scary stuff. But I think that the work that I'm doing now with this new technique that I'm using to work with clients that I channeled, I think the fact that I channeled this new technique helped me step up into a much bigger level myself, because this isn't something that I went away and did a workshop and learned how to do. I brought this thing into the world. Before we got on the call, we were talking about, this whole new website and everything being like a birthing process. And I really, really felt like that. It was like I birthed this thing into the world, and it's been scary. It's been like, who am I to bring this thing in? But, here we are, and I've done it.
So talk to me about the scary then.
The scary it was like a number of things. It was like, who am I to create a new technique and say that this is a great way of, changing your beliefs and transforming your mindset and that kind of thing. Well, at the same time, knowing that I didn't create it, I channeled this thing. I brought it in from somewhere. And so there's a lot of fear around that. And there's a lot of fear around also using this technique that, again, I put together. It's like it doesn't have that credibility of, EFT. Millions of people around the world use it, and it's been around for 20 years, and it's fantastic. It's like brand new. So it's about stepping up and saying, not only A, did I channel this thing, but B, it's brand new and so powerful, and kind of the responsibility of bringing this into the world, but in a bigger way, and really putting it out there.
But isn't there something that, because I'm thinking about, well, actually that sounds kind of cool and amazing, because you have the responsibility of kind of birthing it and bringing it forward, but actually that whole kind of creation process has come from something somewhere else. And therefore it's almost like it's gifted to you.
Yeah. So my guides, we're going to get a little woo here. My guides say that I've worked with this technique in another realm, and that I've brought it into this world. So it's not so much as I'm putting it together or I'm creating it, but that I'm remembering how to use it because I've worked with it before.
Okay. So is it worth us just spending? Is your new technique something that you can describe people? I mean, I've experienced it, so I have kind of secret hidden insider knowledge about it, but so I'm just wondering for people who are listening, kind of going, okay, well, what is this thing? Is it, is it worth kind of just describing that, and also the process of how you downloaded it? Is that the right? Is that the right?
Yeah, definitely. I think those are both really good questions. I think they're both really useful to share. So the process combines breath work and visualization and working with the chakras at the same time as you're focusing on your goal or your intention or what it is that you want to achieve. So for me, the real power of this technique is that you're not only working at the subconscious level, but you're also working at the energetic level. So the results that I've been hearing from clients and the people that I've tried this out with, they've said they've gotten really fast results and really big results, sometimes within a few hours after the session. So I'm finally understanding that the power of this technique is that it works not only at the subconscious level, but also at the energetic level. And that really helps people to create big shifts fast.
So tell people how the process of you kind of
channeling
channeling it. Yes, that's the word I was trying to think.
Well, I used to call it
like, because I'm not from that kind of woo side.
I know.
Like I don't have the language for it.
This thing, how did you get it? Where did you get it from?
Did you buy this? Can we download it online?
Well, I used to say download, and my guides one day were like, it's not a download, it's a channel. It's flowing through you and out into the world. And I'm just like, so that was, I think, the biggest challenge in trusting myself and trusting the process and trusting that it was going to come through. So about a year ago, in a session with my coach, Lisa Wechtenheiser, who channels my guides as she gives me business tips, the guide said, look, you need to sit down and you need to make a list of all the things you like and all the things you don't like about how you currently work with clients, because you're going to come up with your own process. And I was like, okay. So I did that, and that was all very nice. And so kind of throughout all of last year, I had it in the back of my mind that I was going to be putting together a new way of working with people. And I knew it was going to come kind of as a download, that it wasn't going to be something that I sat down and created logically with my mind. But nothing was really happening. And then it got to the point where about September of last year, I was ready for it to happen. I wanted it to come in. And so I had another session with Lisa, and I was like, Lisa, we need to work on this. Like, where is it? And the guides were like, oh, it's all ready. In 2 weeks, it will be here. And I was like, perfect. That's super clear. I am ready. So, I go away, and the guides were like, you need to spend time out in nature and go on your walks, and that's going to help it come through. It's going to come through on your walks. Well, it did not. So 2 weeks come, 2 weeks go, and I'm like, okay, they've missed the deadline. Another week comes and goes, another week. Finally, so I call up Lisa again, and I'm like, I need another session. Where the hell is this thing? And, well, it was my fault. Of course, I wasn't making the time to just sit down and let it come in. I was expecting it to just kind of pop into my head at some point, but I really needed to sit down and allow it to come in. And the thing is, it didn't come in one big chunk, which is, I think, what made it so challenging. It came in step by step. So it was like I was sitting there, allowing it space, and then I felt kind of drawn to put my hands together. And then I felt drawn to visualize a ball of energy in my hands. And then I felt like I had to do some deep breathing and kind of grow the ball of energy. And then I felt like I had to put the energy in my heart. And then, and so it was like step by step, and I kept doing these things, and I was just like, I don't know why I'm doing this, I don't know what this is, but I just did it. Like, I would think, you have to do this, and so I would do that. And then eventually the second step would come in, and then I would do that. And then afterwards, I kind of took notes, and I put the whole thing together, and it evolved over the course of about a week, less than a week. I think it was like Monday through Friday. The whole thing came in. So it was really, really fast once I blocked out the time in my calendar and sat down and let it come in. So it wasn't something that could have just come in as I was going about my daily activities, because the messages weren't that strong. They were really, really subtle, and I really need to listen to allow them to pop in.
Well, I think that's a lesson we can all take, because I know that, for any of that kind of tapping, whether you want to call it tapping into inner wisdom, whether you want to it's tapping into the universe or listening to your guides, or, whatever kind of, whatever description works best for you, even for those who are on the less woo side of the continuum, I think that reminder to actually allow yourself space to tap into whatever it is that you need to be hearing on a deeper level is really, really important. And I know, for the kind of the type A, tightly wound of us who are very good at kind of staying in action and staying in motion, actually giving yourself that breathing space to kind of go, even if it's just kind of tapping into your inner intuition about what is it that I actually want. It's so vital. How many of us are using busyness to kind of put off that kind of listening to that nagging little message that's kind of going, yep, still here, I'm not going away, no matter how busy you keep yourself, still here. That's really interesting.
Yeah. It's all about making the time and just letting it come through.
Yeah. And so go on.
No, go ahead.
No, you go.
I was going to pivot and start talking about you, because I'm super excited to hear about your process.
Okay.
So tell us, Jo, how about you? What was the process like for you? Because I know you've gone through a really big pivot in clarity in how you're working with people and what your message is. So when did that start?
I think in hindsight, it started kind of towards the end of last year, and then came into, I think a lot of things for me kind of, a dam broke when Trump was elected.
Oh, yeah.
in that it was all I could talk about with these people. It was just how the hell. And we'd already gone through Brexit, which I had found immensely distressing, not just because of all the things it was going to mean for us as a continent in Europe and as a country in the UK, and obviously you and I both live in the UK. It was what it said about my country, because a lot of for those of you who aren't in the UK, an awful lot, in fact the majority of the discussion leading up to Brexit was around immigration. Wasn't actually around some of the things that I was interested in discussing about kind of Europe and stronger ties and how does that mean that we relate to one another across this larger geographical space. It was a lot of stuff around immigration and keeping Muslims out and keeping Romanians out. And it was, people were having conversations on TV, in popular culture, on our news discussion programs, in a way that I was quite horrified by, because I thought I was in my bubble. I was in my little liberal left-wing Guardian reading bubble, thinking people didn't really feel like that. And obviously an awful lot of people did. Yeah. And then, so that was one thing. And then Trump happened, and I think an awful lot of things that have been simmering for me around the online coaching industry, around this kind of selling people a bill of goods or a handful of magic beans almost, you know, pay me $25,000 and I will give you an instant 6-figure coaching business, which I know you and I have talked about so many times, but it was like, I just can't bear it anymore. I can't bear it. So I got up to a point in my business of thinking, well, I know that's not what I'm saying, but I don't think I'm saying enough of the alternative and what we need to be talking about. And actually, I didn't feel like my messaging and my website was really reflective of the work that I did with people. Because yes, I help people get more coaching clients. I help them to clarify their message. I help them to do all those kind of strategic business pieces, but I do that with a context of when the kind of the resistance comes up, when the kind of those kind of personal, that kind of tension around, well, I want to be more visible, but I don't want to be more visible, and what's all that about? And I'm so frustrated with myself, and kind of the kind of the wrestling and the wrangling that a lot of us women entrepreneurs in particular do. You know, my coaching style has a very clear container to deal with that. I don't just do it kind of business strategy. It's very much, incorporating the personal development as well. And I didn't feel that was being reflected in my message. And also, I didn't want to do shallow anymore. The word that kept coming back time and time again was, I want to be having deeper conversations. I want to be having more substantive conversations, because most of the coaches that I worked with, that's what they wanted to do too. They want to do deep transformative work. And I felt that the message that I had was kind of skimming along the surface of actually what the work was about. So that was my kind of starting point, which for me was very much kind of, I know I don't want to be doing this in this way anymore. And I'd be looking at my website and having that same reaction you were having at yours, that kind of, it's just not me anymore. But one of the things that I found really quite stressful and challenging about the whole process was, I knew what I didn't want, but I didn't have the clarity about what I did want. And so there was several months where I almost felt like I was in this, my friend Laura calls it the messy middle. But for me, it just felt like I was in no man's land. Yeah. I knew where I couldn't go back to what I was doing before, but I didn't know what the new thing was and how to explain it yet. And so that I actually found that really quite distressing.
It is. I mean, for me, I knew what the new thing was, kind of, but it still felt really icky to be in that transition phase, because it was like, can't really talk about my new thing yet, but I'm already moving away from what my old thing was, and I'm stuck in this disgusting middle.
Yeah, that's a really good way of describing it. So during that time, I hired a new coach. So there's an amazing woman called Kelly Deals who talks a lot about the female lifestyle empowerment brand, which even she says is it's not the greatest, snappiest kind of title, or FLEB for short, which is a lot of the stuff around the way that some online people sell, particularly to women. And it's lots of those things that you'll recognize of it's the thin, beautifully dressed, usually white woman, beautiful, being pictured in a very affluent setting. So maybe they've had their photo shoots in Paris, or, in Milan, or in some beautiful hotel, and it's selling aspiration, and it's selling kind of wealth, and it's selling people a bill of goods, because a lot of these coaching programs, you and I both know, Holly, are selling people just such a shallow. They're not giving people the actual tools that they need. They're not giving people genuine support, but what they are doing is they're charging people an awful lot of money to say, go and have a photo shoot taken in Paris or in wherever. And so what Kelly is really good at doing is she kind of breaks that down and looks at some of the manipulative ways that kind of online courses are sold and things like that. And I already knew that I wasn't doing most of those things, but I wanted to look at, are there some things that I am doing? And Kelly describes herself as a feminist marketing consultant. And I thought, that sounds a bit daring and risque, because I know I'm a feminist, but I'm not like OTT overt, with it. And what Kelly was brilliant at doing was kind of working with me to pull out the threads of the work that I did and help me to express that in a cohesive message. And so one of the analogies I know I've shared on here before, but it bears repeating, is that working with a coach, one of the great benefits of it is they help you to see the things you're too close to see yourself. And so one of the things that Kelly was so brilliant at doing was showing me where I was already doing some of this work and what the kind of the core themes of my work was. And we would get into kind of big kind of discussions around stuff. And I realized that one of the things that I really love helping women entrepreneurs with, primarily coaches, but people who have service-based businesses. So whether you're a coach or whether you're a holistic practitioner or you're a consultant, you're selling yourself in a way. It's you are the business. It's not like you're selling t-shirts or washing powder. You are the business. And there is this inherent tension for women when we're required to be visible, because so much of our cultural upbringing is about staying small, not being too opinionated, not taking up too much space. I mean, we literally have this diet culture which tells us we should literally not be taking up physical space. And Kelly helped me to kind of craft that into my new message, which is around, I help people build sustainable, ethical businesses whilst tackling the tension of what I call feminine conditioning head on, which is that tension that even the most confident, most assertive, most kind of out there, feminist, capable women struggle with, which is that comes up around when you're talking about being more visible, stepping up, challenging people's assumptions, sharing opinions, all those things that you need to do to create a viable, sustainable business. So that was the kind of the other side, but there was a real kind of difficult part in the middle, because I honestly thought I was burning my business down.
Ooh. And
I had it in my head that because I was moving from this position where I knew my audience seemed to like this, I have regular clients, I have a solid business. If I move to this new thing, which feels like a very radical departure, will people ever hire me again?
Ooh.
I honestly felt that way. And so there were many, many, many days where I was just terrified to do it.
And so what helped you get over those fears and just put it out there?
Partly because I knew I couldn't go back to what I was doing before. So it was almost like once I was in the process, it was like, well, the only way out of this messy middle is to carry on through, because I know I can't go back. But it took a lot of courage to do. And then the funniest thing was that once I put it out, all of my existing clients, all of my past clients, all the people who knew me went, oh my goodness, that is so totally you. That's what you've been doing all along.
So they picked up on it, even though you thought you were being super subtle.
Yeah. And the response has been fantastic. And so as soon as I got it out there, it was it really felt like an overwhelming kind of wave of affirmation from people just going, I love this. This is totally you. You've just stepped so much more into you. But it was really nerve-wracking in the bit before. And a friend of mine who when I was going through all of this, someday I was sharing all of my fears and things. She had a podcast from the Being Boss podcast. she had a podcast episode with me. She'd listened to this. And so I went and listened to this episode, and they talk about when you're pivoting, when you're changing your message. And one of the key things that they say on there, which actually I think is really true now, if I can look back on it, is that it may feel like your message is doing a total revolution. You're totally changing it, but actually you're probably changing far less than you think you are, than it feels like you are.
Yeah.
And that was definitely true of my experience. And now I love my new website. I love my new message.
It's beautiful.
It really does feel so much more me.
Yeah.
And it has that depth there that I was craving, and really does feel like a reflection of the work that I do. But getting to that point, that's what I was saying. I'm really jealous of your being able to channel it. For me, it felt very spiky. It wasn't a kind of a nice thing to go through, and yet I'm thrilled with the results.
Yeah, see, I think I got through the spiky bits before I actually sat down to do the website. So it was like I needed it so badly. Like I'd worked through all the crap.
Yeah. But it's really interesting that we both had that experience of the kind of the pivot, the evolution, the up-leveling, whatever you want to call it. It didn't just feel like, oh, this is the right thing to do now. It was like, I can't not do this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I think it might be worth saying to people who have been following us for the last few months, who know that we had been putting together an online program together, a group program, that it didn't work out. We didn't get the sign-ups that we were hoping for, despite the fact that people thought it was an amazing program and they loved it and they thought it was great. And both of us have had the sensation that that program didn't work out, because you and I both needed to separately go through these up-leveling processes. So I think it's really important to point out that if you're really struggling with something in your business and something's not working out, maybe it's just not right for you right now, and you need to be doing different things. Yeah,
it was a really interesting, again, quite distressing experience.
Yes.
Distressing, but it was one of those things. It's like, it's really disappointing when we'd put a lot of work into that program. We both thought it was a great program. I still think it's a great program. We did genuinely get just the nicest, loveliest feedback on it, but we didn't get people signing up for it. And you being slightly more woo than, a lot more woo than me, you were the one who actually said, I think the universe needs us to do the thing we're both putting off doing, so that we can, I think if we'd done this program, it would almost be like we were putting off doing that thing that we need to do.
Yes. And it's so funny because about the same time that I stepped into the murky stage and started up-leveling was about the same time we started planning the program.
Too. Yeah.
So fascinating.
So it's like logically it was all in place. And I still, I have a hunch that if we run it again, or when we run it again, because we're determined that we will, and we'll tweak some things, it will be much more aligned. I think it was just like the stars or whatever were out of alignment, and the timing, it was just, no, we need to go and do these things. Because in some ways there was a comfort in doing that program for me, because it meant that I could put off the whole kind of, new message, rebrand, burning my business down thing.
Yeah, I don't even think I saw that connection until afterwards when it didn't work. And I was just like, what the hell happened here? And then I started thinking, I think it's more of an energetic thing than like a practical, it wasn't right thing. So, yeah.
Yeah. So it's been a really interesting few months.
It's been a roller coaster.
Yeah. And I have to say, I don't know about you, but I'm really pleased to be on the other side of it.
Yes, me too. I think this was kind of the roughest up-leveling I've had. And my business has gone through so many different transitions and evolutions and stuff over the years, but I feel like this was the biggest one. And I think partly it's because I was so conscious of the fact that I was stretching myself into something bigger and new.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. And I think whenever you're doing that, there's going to be some there is a resistance there. There's some part of you wants to keep you safe and keep you the same, because it playing a bigger game brings with it more visibility, more risk, less certainty. And so there's almost like a drag effect there. It's almost like aerodynamics or something. There's a part of you, if you're not fully kind of on board with it, tries to kind of hold you back, like tether you to the old thing. And so it can feel quite rough when you're going through it. It takes a while till you get to that place where you have liftoff. Mm-hmm. I'm using lots of kind of aerodynamical analogies here. But I guess one of the reasons that we wanted to share this is because, we've got this, we think it's really important to be able to share real stories of how these things work, because, you may land on Holly's website, hollywharton.com, or you may land on my website, joecasey.com, and you may see these beautiful, really kind of together websites and think, oh, it's so easy for them. And it's really not. It's not always easy, but it's still worth it. And so if you're in the messy middle right now, or you're feeling like something feels off with my business, and I know that thing that I've been doing isn't right anymore, but I don't know what the next thing is, I guess it's a rallying cry to have faith in the process and to move through it. Rather than to give up. Because I don't know about you, Holly, but it would have been quite easy at one point for me to kind of go, that's it. I'm just obviously not cut out for this.
Oh, God, there have been so many points where I could have said that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of almost we're sharing this stuff to reassure you in a way, and to say, if you're feeling that things are a bit wonky, or like I say, you're in that messy middle, or you're going through the bit of, I don't know what the next thing is, that there is something about, you need to give yourself the space. You need to start to dive in and explore some of that, because on the other side is where you need to be. Yes. But it doesn't always feel great when you're in the middle of it.
No, it doesn't. And get help, get a coach, get a business mentor, get someone to help you pick apart this process that you're going through and help you see what the other side is. And I think also it's important to don't let your logical head get in the way, because every time I thought about building my new website, I thought, well, my old website's not even a year old. It was just like 10 or 11 months old. Like, how can I, like, what am I even thinking about building a new website when the other one's not even a year old? But it had to be done. So don't let logic get in the way. If you're ready for a new site, if you're ready for a new message, if you're ready to step up in a bigger way and share your message in a bigger way, you need to do it whenever that is, even if you just got a new website 6 months ago.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Sometimes logic isn't always the way to go with this. And if your guides are talking to you, I need to find my guides. I think I need to spend a bit of time exploring and tapping in, downloading. Maybe that's a whole other podcast episode, Holly. You can talk me through how I can lean into that more intuitive side a bit more. But there is something in there around giving yourself some space sometimes to just explore what's actually going on for you, and getting out of busy mode.
Yes.
So that you can actually hear that little voice inside you that's kind of going, nah, something's not right. Try going that way. Try going that way. Go on, just keep going. Whereas I know that I'm really good at just staying in action.
Yep.
Because, then I don't have to stop and listen to that thing that might tell me something I don't want to hear.
Yeah. Which is, it's time to change.
Yeah.
All right. So, should we wrap it up?
Yeah, let's. So, I hope that this has been helpful to you. And even if you're really happy with where you are right now, one of the questions that I get asked a lot is, well, how will I find my thing? The one true message that I'm meant to be sharing. And I think one of the things that Holly and I sign up for is being kind of really transparent in a lot of this stuff. And I think one of the messages that comes out consistently from us is there will be no one thing that will last forever. Both Holly and I have gone through several iterations of our business just in the past couple of years, and that will continue. I know that where I'm at with mine right now isn't where I'm going to be in the next kind of 2 to 3 years. Yeah. I hope it does last a bit longer than a few months, but definitely will. But things, you have to view your business as something that's organic and allow it to grow, and not get so hung up on finding the one true thing that I need to be doing now. Like, choose the niche, choose the message, and stick to it, but allowing it to evolve.
Yes.
Would you agree, Holly?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Definitely, because if you're entering this process where things are evolving, your business evolving, that means that you're growing as well. And that's great.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Because we want to be growing and evolving as, well-rounded humans. And so if you're wanting to have a well-rounded human business, then you need to let your business and your message and your website and your services evolve along with you. And that's how you develop a really sustainable business, a business that is sustainable in terms of your energy, in terms of your life force, and I think sustainable financially as well. Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, Holly.
Thank you for sharing your story.
Yeah, it was really interesting. I'm still a bit jealous of the weekend of doing the website. It was weeks of tears and chocolate for me. But it also shows that there are different experiences, and no one experience is the right one.
Exactly.
It's about going at your pace. If you have any questions for Holly and I, you know where to get us. It's joe@joecasey.com, and it's
holly@hollywharton.com.
We will speak to you very soon.
Thank you for listening, and remember to visit hollywharton.com/194 for the show notes on this episode. Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening to the Business Mindset Podcast with your host, Holly Wharton. You can find more information about today's episode, including links for topics that were discussed, at hollywharton.com. And if you enjoyed this episode, please remember to head over to iTunes and leave a quick review of this podcast. It just takes a minute. Thank you.